Today, I'm turning 33 years old, and these are 5 things I wish I understood about my career sooner. And yes, as always, it's gonna be quick and dirty. My name is Lou, and I'm a mixing and mastering engineer with a credible history, and if you're looking for videos that are quick and not overcomplicated, then you're in the right place. Now, I'm not gonna try to spoil anything as I go through the 5 topics, but let's start off with the first one. By the way, quick little blip. Watch till the end because I'm going to be announcing something. I wish I understood how important it is for you to get over yourself and your setup. Nobody cares about that. Hands down, this was probably the hardest lesson to learn. It also was really expensive. I'll never forget how many videos I was watching that had Dave Pensato, Manny Marroquin, the Chris Lord-Alge, Jimmy Douglas, everybody that had all these amazing studios, amazing gear, and they would talk about certain things that they like to do in the process, and they would always highlight some piece of gear. Now, this is something that you'll see anyways with any content creator. They always talk about their favorite pieces of gear, or nowadays it's more plugins than it was in 2010. It just was more fuel to the fire of me not really focusing on what I should have focused on. Now keep in mind, all of this is happening in my first year or two. You know, I'm still learning what I'm doing, but I'm trying to build a client base and everything just like anybody else. You do see certain trends and you try to think, okay, well, if this is what's currently working for others, I should follow. And that was the mistake, trying to move too quickly at the beginning. Now, I'm not saying that gear doesn't help. In fact, I actually have some of my favorite pieces of gear and still invest in some because I figured if I built a really nice studio, they would come naturally and, you know, things would fall in place. But that couldn't be more further from the truth. Now, I really want to drive in the point of this one. Don't go buying gear just because you think anybody's going to respect you more just because you have it. Later in my career, I'm able to now say that you need to get over yourself. This is not what's going to grant you people's genuine respect. That's something you need to earn through consistency and growth. You need to show your work. And if your work says that you've grown to a point that you can deliver a certain quality, they're not going to ask what compressors you have or EQs. Some people will. They're curious. Everybody likes different tools. Don't get me wrong. That is a thing. But I've never had a big project ever rejected because I didn't use one specific piece of gear, because I didn't have a console. Everything that I've earned has been earned because of the quality of the output and not the gear. Okay, moving on to the second topic, let's talk about the whole idea of a jack of all trades is a king of none. Main reason that I want to talk about this is because a lot of people are embarrassed about this at the beginning of their career, or they think it's going to hurt them in the long run. And honestly, this is a justified fear for a lot of people. Main reason is that we do see that if you only do one thing, people trust you more because you don't do anything else. That's totally cool and it's understood. To be honest, I also think that way too. If you're a mechanic and you only work on Hondas, then I'm probably going to take my Honda to you. And if you're a mechanic that only works on Mercedes, I'm probably not going to take my Honda to you. It doesn't matter that it's a cheaper car and Mercedes are a bit more advanced. The issue is that you don't really specialize in this one thing. So yes, there is an inherent trust put into you because you work on a Honda and I have a Honda. With that said, if you're just starting out, and like I said, this is things I wish I knew before I, really dived in deep with my career. It's okay to have multiple jobs. In fact, it's fine to have a 9-to-5 if you have a 9-to-5. That's totally fine. If anything, that makes it possible for you to become more selective with your clientele. And that's a very powerful thing to be. So just to give you the idea, yes, if you're able to take on every gig possible, but you're drowning in debt throughout the process, it's honestly not the lifestyle you want to have as you try to grow. You want to have some financial stability. And the reason that, yes, taking on every gig can be beneficial is just because you never know who you're going to meet. You could take on any session on any day, but you're taking them on more because you have to and not because you specifically like this client. Now, you don't want to raise a child you're going to hate. That's something my friend DK says all the time. And the notion is that you don't want to, nurture the clientele you don't want to have. Why? Because if that's what you're letting stay around just because you have to, just because you need the money, you're setting yourself up for failure or for a miserable career. So throughout my career, I did take on a lot of different jobs, everything from building acoustic panels for people, front of house, designing studios, mixing, mastering, recording. I was a studio owner twice, and each time actually was an amazing experience each time. If you ever worked with me while I was in my studios, I love you, thank you. Those were years of happiness for me, just so you know. But that's kind of my point. I got to know a lot of people. I got to build my networks by being able to branch out into a bunch of different things. I have made clients that were originally artists that were performing live, and I was engineering those concerts. I managed to produce albums for the artists that were performing live that, they were just starting out, and I actually met them, talked to them, and been like, you know what? Let's do an album. And they agreed. I didn't really have much to offer, but they just enjoyed knowing that there was somebody out there that also enjoyed their music. And the only reason I met them was taking on these jobs that weren't specifically mixing or mastering. Now, nowadays, I almost exclusively mix and master, but the other side of my work is I still design recording studios and I still do concerts. The reason I like doing concerts is because it gives me an opportunity to travel, to network, and meet the fans of the music that I get to be involved with. Not only that, but you get a better bond with the artist because you don't just get to see them in the studio, you get to see them perform live, and there's a different set of nerves that happen when you're performing live. A good example of this is one of the artists that I work with, Vienna. Recently posted on Instagram and TikTok about one of their biggest fears coming to fruition. The playback track stopped working in the middle of a concert. I was at front of house running the concert. I ran down as he performed an impromptu song, just trying to buy time. I ran down to the playback system, figured out what was wrong with it, even though I wasn't the one running it, but the person that was running it just didn't know how to fix the issue. So once I was able to fix it, the show was able to go on. After the show, it was just one of those where like, this is why we love working with you. This is why we book your studio. This is why we book you for every show. It's because every time we work with you, we have a great experience. And that's the magic of taking on all these different gigs. You have different opportunities to show value in working with you. Now, without getting into specifics, this is honestly probably my favorite asset out of this whole jack of all trades. It's the ability to actually say no to projects that you honestly don't align with or that you think somebody else could be a better provider for. A good example of this is when I took on the Zeus Network projects or the Too Short project. I designed recording studios for the two of them. They took months to do, but they also covered expenses for months. And that is really great because I'm not sitting there doing something I hate. I actually really love designing studios. I feel like it's like a giant puzzle for me. I can now dedicate more time to actually finding clients that I want to work with, networking with people in higher places that actually have artists under their roster. And I'm able to let them know like, hey, if you liked working with me here, I also am a mixing and mastering engineer. I'd love to, offer my services. And many times this has actually panned out to me getting bigger connections, better relationships, and I don't have to worry about the financial aspect. I'm not waking up to do a session at 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. and I haven't done that in like at least 2 years. And I used to do it more because I was working with artists that were of a higher caliber and that was kind of what was demanded of their schedule. But once I left that, I opted out of doing overnight sessions. I don't do anything overnight anymore. And I focus on really just nurturing the relationships of the ones I want to keep, and that just makes it that much more possible to make sure that I have a clientele that I love working with versus that I have to work with. Now, thankfully, we led into this one, but basically, number 3, don't take on any clients you don't want to have. It's that simple, and it's really hard to do when you're struggling for money, but hear me out. I'm going to explain why you don't want to do that. Your personal peace as you grow is very important. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying put up so many boundaries that it causes you to actually lose clients, but put up enough boundaries to where, you're building a sense of respect for you and your client. Now, this means that you still need to do everything that you need to do to make sure your clients are taken care of. But you also need to be able to communicate what your boundaries are and make sure that you're effective in doing so. Now, sometimes you're just a piece in a working machine, right? You're not that important. Let's be honest. Most times you are not that important. But if you go to work every day and you're being disrespected, if you work with a certain artist who honestly, one, doesn't respect your time or your efforts or anything, they're always showing up late, they try to pay you late, or they keep trying to lowball you for any kind of work, to be honest, I would just drop that client. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your peace. And if it's going to start affecting things at home for you, it's not worth it. Drop it. This one is short and sweet because the reality is there should be no point in your life where you're allowing yourself to be disrespected in exchange for income. And if you want to grow in this career and not be burnt out, you need to love what you do. And I don't know anyone that loves being disrespected. Now, I'm not implying that this is any form of regular occurrence for people. This is just me saying that even when I felt that it was worth suffering through the sessions, it never panned out. Sometimes you take on work and you work with people that really enjoy your presence and you enjoy theirs, and the day just flies by. You know, you don't even realize 8 to 12 hours have gone by working on music because you're doing what you love and you love who you're doing it with. You know what I mean? But when it came down to gigs that I took on where I'm like, you know, I don't really like working with this person. There's always something off. We have a hard time communicating. It's best that you just refer them to somebody else. You know, just give them the opportunity to have a better experience with somebody else and give yourself the benefit of the doubt in saying that, you know what, as much money as I may make, I might be happier without this money. With that said, fourth topic, it might be you. It might honestly be you. Now, I'm a big believer in the moment you start getting comfortable, you start making mistakes. And we always hear that people grow through uncomfortable times. You know, some people say you have to hit rock bottom to really see your climb and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to go that far, okay? You don't have to hit rock bottom. But you need to be mindful of what you're doing and who you're doing that with. You cannot get too comfortable with people, because that, I can promise you, I can tell you this on my own, in my own history. I can see where I've gotten comfortable and I've made mistakes along the way. And the saddest part, it's not always the people that I'm making these mistakes with, the people I'm trying to intentionally not be a great person with. Unfortunately, you might actually start affecting the people around you that you want to keep around. And that's the honest reason I have to bring this one up as the fourth topic. When we start getting too comfortable, a lot of times it just means that we feel like we have a little more leeway. You can show up a little late sometimes. That's not okay. You're disrespecting other people's time. Now, sometimes that means that we don't have to try as hard because we have a good relationship with somebody. No, fuck that. That means you're not giving them their money's worth that you were giving before. Now, all of a sudden, you're skimping on the product. The fuck is that shit? But the whole idea is that if you really want to make a career out of this, you need to show up with consistency. And when people get comfortable, they get a little bit lazy. They start saying things that they may not have said before, or they might start giving their opinion on something that they think they're okay to give on, when in reality, you might just be affecting your relationship just because you voice something that is not really a topic for you to be talking about. Sometimes this might mean that you feel comfortable enough bringing up politics, religion, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes people start getting comfortable and start to overshare. I know I'm a constant overshare. I'm sorry if I've done that with you guys. But the reality is this: you're now starting to be a little too comfortable and making things uncomfortable for somebody else, or you might be causing issues and delays and things of that nature because you think, oh, it's okay, no worries, I have a good relationship with them, it's not that big of a problem, when in reality it was a lot of work to build that relationship. Even if you hit it off naturally, all you're doing is chipping away at your relationships. Don't get too comfortable. And just remember, when I say don't get too comfortable, I'm not saying that anything can change at any moment. I'm saying work hard to nurture the relationships you are trying to keep. Cut the ones that you don't want away, but if you really wanted to keep a relationship, you wouldn't let yourself get too comfortable. Give them what you promised. Give them the product that you said they were going to get, because if you start getting comfortable and they start getting something else and somebody else comes up and starts providing them the attention you're no longer giving them, the quality that you're no longer giving them, you may no longer be with them. Okay, this is number 5, and this is honestly the most important one, and this one goes out to everybody. I know I've felt this way in the past, but if you're burning out, if you really are disliking what you're doing and you're feeling very drained, you need to take care of your mental health before anything else. Your clients, your accolades, nothing else matters. Yes, you can lose some potential clients, but this is why building the right systems and putting up the right boundaries is so important. If you feel like you just have had enough and you're burnt out and you're just taking gigs because you have to, because if you don't, you're going to lose your income, you're going to lose your career, you need to honestly just take a break. Just talk to your clients, say, hey, I'm going to take a week or 2 off, I need a vacation, and just focus on you for a little bit. Pick up some hobbies on the side that have nothing to do with music. If you went from having music as your hobby, turned it into your career, and now you have the stress of a career added to what you used to love, you need to find other hobbies. You need to go running, you need to go to the gym, you need to start woodworking, you need to go surfing, do whatever the fuck you want to do. But you got to take care of yourself. Now, the reason this is such an important topic to me is because I've definitely felt it in the past, and it becomes hard to talk to people when everybody is always talking about the next project, the next thing they want to do. Oh, so-and-so is blowing up, and you're over here thinking like, I just need to slow down. I just need a break, and it becomes hard to talk to anybody about it. If you are feeling that drained, you need to take a break. You need to figure out if this is really what you want to do, which is totally okay if it's not. If you want to treat this as a hobby, if you want to treat this as a side hustle, that's totally fine. But if this is really what you love to do and you want to do it for the rest of your life, you need to take care of yourself and your mental health. Get a therapist if you need one, but don't drive yourself to the ground just because you're going to FOMO all over the world. The fear of missing out is so embedded in everybody in our industry because we constantly hear about this new artist that popped up on TikTok, this new artist that broke billboards. We see our friends that are growing at different paces. Sometimes we surpass our friends and sometimes they surpass us. It doesn't really matter if you are depressed the whole time. If you no longer love what you're doing, but it's something that you still want to do for the rest of your life, you need to calibrate. You need to check in on yourself. I don't say this because anyone I know is necessarily going through it right now. I just know that throughout the last couple of years, I've seen people who have stayed on, dropped off, or people who just took a break and came back. And every time I hear about people who took a break, they always come back so much happier, and they come in with a new mindset of like, I really only want to focus on this because this is what made me happy. This is what made me stressed out. And that's what you need to be focused on. When you talk about, people who are doing really well, that's because they put up systems. If they need to take a break, they have an assistant or somebody they can count on and say, hey, can you mix these records for me while I'm gone? I still have deadlines. I still have to make sure this is taken care of, but I need to take some time off. Can I pay you to do my work, or can I, sidestep this one to you? I'll pay you what they're paying me. I just need to take some time off. Whatever you got to do, just focus on yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Just if it's affecting you and your family at this point, you need to worry about yourself. Earlier, I mentioned that I wanted to make an announcement at the end of this video, and here it is. I'm going to be offering one free master once a week to subscribers of this channel. Now, this is going to happen randomly on these videos. Now, what I mean by that is I typically release about 2 to 3 videos per week, and what I'm looking to do is to just seed one of those videos by saying, hey, on this video, if you want to win a free master, all you have to do is comment XYZ. And then we'll choose a winner out of the comments from that. Now, we're going to start that with today's video. What I want to see is somebody comment what they wish they learned sooner. In order to qualify, you do have to like and subscribe to the channel, and you do have to actually make the comment that's being prompted for. But outside of that, it's something that I can give back to the community, as you guys are helping me build my channel and helping me kind of get over my own thing of like, well, everybody's got imposter syndrome. Nobody likes being on camera. I'm trying to get over all of that as I grow with you guys. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. And honestly, if you like what you see here, I hate to say it again, but like and subscribe. But I'll see you guys on the next one.